Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today we're taking a look at a game that was very recently played, and I do mean recently, as of this casting about 4 hours ago on Hela's Basin. I gotta say, this map has quickly taken the Beyond All Reason community by storm. Essentially, well, I don't want to say replacing Supremismus, but sort of becoming the new Supremismus, right? I feel like that's fair to say anyways. But I'm excited to see exactly what went down between these two teams that are going to be led by some very powerful commanders indeed. And led indeed is the blue team, as the blue commander is spawned right up here on the front line and goes by the name of Fruit. Short, sweet, simple, and delicious. Love me a good piece of fruit in the morning. One of my favorite early morning breakfasts. Accessory information, but there you go. A little bit of Brightworks lore. Fruit going to be going for some bots on the front line as an Armada commander. It's my favorite match in the entire game, or my favorite unit set in the entire game, the Armada T1 bots. They always have held my interest since the day I started learning how to play this game till the very present. T1 bots have always held my captivation, but in the backline, spawning on more of a longevity position here, the red commander goes by the name of Rise Heaven. Rise Heaven, gonna be playing as an Armada commander here, gonna be going into bots right now, but I imagine that'll be going away. Typically what we see here is a bot lab, and then we see maybe a couple constructors to build wind turbines, that sort of thing, and then eventually we go into T2, right? Around that 6 minute mark, we make a T2 transition. Maybe sometimes you can do some cheeky strategies where you try to help out some of your other teammates by dropping, for instance, construction towers around all over the place. That's another strange but oftentimes useful operation you can pull if you can manage to micro all that. Excited to see what the red commander has in store for us. Now, already, we are getting into the water here. Big Banana, the purple commander here, Big Banana indeed, has gone for no energy production, has just gone straight into the lab right here, or I guess a single solar panel and then straight into the lab. Do I like this? Well, it means the better strategy is going to be able to pump out units a whole lot quicker. Also interesting that they're both Armada commanders, that's rare. Very rare to see two Armada commanders going up 1v1 on the ocean. This is much more what I expected here. Gold Leader, the confusingly named Gold Leader, is actually the green commander. Going to be going up against Kobe Bean, the orange commander right here, and both of which playing as Cortex. This feels much more stock standard. It's what we most usually see, and I'm excited, to say the very least, to see what happens on the Southern Sea, because it's rare that we get to see Armada commanders going up against each other. Armada Navy commanders, I should specify. Now, one of the strategies that's been very popular recently on the Isthmus, and I imagine works phenomenally here as well, are those really early mammoth drops. We do have we have Armada all the way through. Are we a full Armada team? Almost. I mean, we have one Cortex player on the front line right here. Another one going into the sea on the northern lane over on this side, but yeah, for virtually all of the blue team here, gonna be playing as Armada. That's pretty interesting. Okay. Armada right here. Basically exactly the same sort of setup for the red team on the front, except way more vehicles than bots. We do have two vehicle players here for the blue team, one vehicle player here for the, one bot player here for the blue team. Stumbling over my words. The blue commander going to be playing bots, the other two playing vehicles, whereas we have all three playing vehicles right here in red. What does that mean? Well, it means that early reclaim is going to be key for the blue team. Obviously, those early bot units rely heavily on being able to reclaim the vehicles that they do bring down, and use that to trade efficiently into the mid and late game. A little bit of a tick run by here, trying to find some value. Yeah, I don't hate it. They take down those scouts, and we could go after these metal extractors, I do believe. Splitting off one of the ticks right here to kill the mexes. That's quite nice. Missile truck out now to try and fire away at these ticks, but they get into the back line. This is huge. They're going to jump on top of that construction turret right here. Nice pick off right there. Take down the construction turret. Metal extractor falls as well. This mex falls. This is a nice little bit of damage. Certainly well worth it for the blue commander, who invested essentially nothing. Little bit of metal into those ticks, but they're basically free. Yeah, not worth all too much right here. Dolphin going up against Frigate right now. Going to be forced back, but it doesn't take too many of those Dolphins to bring down a Frigate. In fact, I think two of them probably could. About the same metal cost there as well, and I do believe if they get a perfect flank, we probably would be able to bring down that frigate, so that'd be lovely to see. Excellent expansion right here from the purple commander, but this is dangerous. Submarine has been pumped out immediately and sent across the map right here. Gonna start blasting away at a whole bunch of this. Yep. Prioritizing the constructor here, that's a great idea. Gonna blast down the constructor, pardon me. Means that torpedo launcher will no longer come up and running. Very nicely done. And just like that, the economy of the purple commander is in a whole lot of trouble. this submarine needs to keep on going. If we can keep using the submarine to shut down these mexes, then this is going to look fabulous for the yellow commander. But we do have a submarine, a counter submarine right here for the purple commander as well. Cheeky, cheeky. Now, after Vanaja styled on me extremely hard live on stream, Tuesdays and Saturdays, 12 to 4 PDT, I learned apparently that this is the meta. You send one of these eels around and try and snipe as many of these mexes as you can. Because exactly this happens. You suddenly find yourself with a crazy advantage over your opponent, and they have no real way of defending themselves here. I will say frigate a little bit far forward for my taste. Yeah, dolphins are going to be able to jump on top of it. At the very least, it's able to fire back. But when the frigate and the tier 2 destroyer or battleship are retreating, they can't really fire their guns super efficiently. And so eventually, I do believe all of this will fall. There we go. Yellow commander, now with more boats out on the water. We do have a single destroyer out and running right now, but those dolphins do actually beat the destroyer. Bit of a strange matchup, mix-up those. But yeah, you actually win that with the dolphins because they're so much more agile. The destroyer can't really hit them. You end up in a really good spot. Rocketeers firing away on the front lines here, bombing run in the back line, tearing down as many of these wind turbines, metal extractors, and other accessory buildings as possible, making sure that economy doesn't feel so good. And no anti-air is up and running so far. Little bit of a slow reaction or a non-reaction right there from the blue commander, maybe just trusting his teammate, as indeed those missile trucks do eventually shoot all this down. Little pawn run-by was attempted over here, by the way, got shut down very nicely here as well. A lot of those blitzes being used to shuttle that off, but of course that meant that the army was pulled away from these LLTs, which have been stoutly holding the line right here, but will eventually fall. Well, maybe. What you really need is very far forward radar towers. Radar towers very energy expensive to go for in the early game, but they allow your Rocketeers to fire away at their full range. Rocketeers fairly nearsighted, at least compared to the amount of range that their actual weapon has. It means that you have to be very careful about making sure that you're constantly keeping vision so that they can fire away. Ticks essentially providing the same utility. But if you only have a commander, that's one cheap way to do it, a relatively cheap way to do it. T2 is up and running by now, by the way. We do have the T2 lab coming up. We have the T2 mexes starting up right here for the red commander. And eventually T2 will start to propagate its way outwards through to the front lines and all that sort of stuff, but we haven't quite seen it yet. There we go. T2 handed off to the back line. Usually I like to try and prioritize this geothermal player because they have the energy to actually go for T2. But then, of course, getting that T2 gives them a huge advantage. This thing can just spam units like crazy. Medium tanks, always viable. Constructor here could be used to build some anti-air to scare off these scout planes that have just been harassing the purple commander for now. But I think Big Banana is mostly just focused right now on getting more boats out in the water, sending them across the map right here and trying to build up a big enough navy to conquer better strategy. Now, interestingly, both economies have basically recovered here. Yeah, I want to say basically both economies have recovered. Although, the metal extractors for the purple commander, Big Banana, have definitely been online a little bit longer. Army has been split up on the northern side. We do have frigates moving across towards Gunner 626's base. Oh no, there's no radar over here. Oh, we have no radar. We just now did. Oh, we did have a radar. Oh, okay, just no reaction then. Well, that's a little bit of an APM issue then. And just like that, those boats are going to jump on top of the entire facility of Gunner 626, losing all the tidal generators, losing the E-converters, and most importantly, losing the build power. This is a nightmare. Now, I'd like to see these boats self-destruct. Oh, that works too. D-Gun will also get rid of that metal, and I think with the damage done, the Cyan commander has to be happy with the way that that fight went. Now contributing forces onto the southern side as well to make sure that Gold Leader has enough to stay in the fight. I think that was a fabulous exchange right there, shutting down a huge portion of the economy from Gunner 626, who built all of that very valuable energy infrastructure right next to a bunch of those explosive energy converters. Have to be so careful about that sort of thing. Geothermal has been built over here. Or oh, I see. Didn't even know it was possible, but there we go. A naval constructor has actually built a geothermal up here on land. Definitely good to know that that's possible. I'm certain that we'll see that become mainstream, if it isn't already. High likelihood I'm behind the times here. Been a busy week. Very busy week. Haven't had time to actually play, and the meta shifts extremely fast in this game. If you were unaware, you are now. The meta can change overnight, basically depending on what crazy stuff the pros can cook up. I remember the first time we saw the Mammoth drops, those basically became the mainstay. If you were going Cortex and you were going T2 in the backline, those Mammoth drops became really, really prevalent. Ooh, Gunner 626, really, really low right here. Oh, we pulled out of that trade. I think if we went for the trade right here, it all would have been well, because we could have produced a lab once more. We could have used the metal, but now there's a commander in the backline. What on earth are you gonna do against this? Spice Rub gonna send the commander over here to try and shut it down. Orange commander falls right here to the destroyers. We already have res subs eating up that corpse. Beautifully, beautifully done. Oh, don't overcommit though. Oh, don't overcommit though. Oh no, those frigates got caught. The destroyer got caught as well. Gold Leader gonna have to sacrifice himself. Needs a huge connection right here to even the odds. He's gonna go through with it. Oh, I don't think that was good enough. 3 destroyers and a frigate still remain. Oh, 2 frigates actually still remain for the orange commander. We need boats, 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 and more boats right now on this front line to reclaim all that metal. If this field goes back to the orange commander, then it's not even going to be a bad situation. Getting all that reclaimed here, though, definitely going to take a second. We need res subs, we need construction ships, we need everything and some more. Frigate that has just been idly parked back here for the entire time has just finally paid itself off. Commander trade up here in this northern section. We'll finally get rid of that Cyan Menace, at least the commander of the Cyan Menace. And we're again overcommitted with the boats right here. We had a good thing reclaiming all this metal right here using this construction boat. I think we just need to build more frigates. I think 100 frigates and more would probably do wonderfully here. We're looking for that Miracle Janus connection. Oh, and that was pretty good. Taking down 2 of those missile trucks right here. It's a slow and arduous fall when you're being pushed by missile trucks, because they don't do a lot of damage. They don't do any big bursts. They're very difficult to reasonably push into, because if you linger for even a second while pushing, you end up losing so much. Eventually, all the boats are gone, but there are no subs, there are no destroyers. There's nothing under the water to stop all this reclaim right here. Oh my goodness, the orange commander now with so much reclaim available, using that metal, or at the very least sending that metal back to team here. Super dead. Don't get me wrong, super dead. Frigates on all sides, blasting apart the entire facility here. But my goodness, so many thousands of metal is already being sent out of this and being sent back to the team over here. Finally, a destroyer makes its way towards over on this side. We need to see it microed. Oh no. We can definitely see those res subs under the water right now. There we go. Destroyer finally gonna head towards them. I want to say they got about 2,500 metal. That combined with the 2,500 over here on the right-hand side, and I think despite all of the damage that we're seeing right now, so much investment is going to be able to happen. Everybody is receiving tons and tons of metal right now. There you go. You can see 850 metal sent back to Rise Heaven, who's going to be able to spend it very efficiently here. Has the T2 coming up, the T2 economy properly set up. Interesting situation. Winning the Navy fight, pardon me, winning the Navy fight on the northern side, and then losing all the metal. I don't know which one I'd take. I don't know which side of that comes out on top there. Certainly having the position is wonderful, though. If you can get a capital ship over here, you can manage to fire away at least 3 bases. Sometimes there's a 4th built over here. Definitely well worth it. Quite the clash up here on the northern side as well. This has been a hotly contested battle for this entire time, but this is a beautiful engagement. Somehow the yellow commander has caught the purple forces split up right here. And that means that most of them are going to fall right now. Oh, we're even going to self-destruct here. Always a desperate move when you have to self-destruct your boats, but I think it's the best you can do, because you're not really going to secure many more kills, and you know that most of that metal is just going to be going back to the enemy player as well. Suddenly things are looking really desperate right here for Big Banana. We need desperately to see 100 frigates out on the front line here. Oh, commander goes down. Stilgar's commander goes down right there, as it was written. The Sam al-Ghaib ushering in the golden pathway towards victory right here. And it's paved with a road of Janus, firing away their twin rocket launchers into whatever they can. But for the time being, these Mauser, cloaked by anti-radar fields, are doing a wonderful job at just barraging the ever-living snot out of everything on this front line. The real value in a Mauser is the fact that it can trade efficiently. It only costs 320 metal, which compared, I mean, is almost as expensive as some of the T1 options. So it only needs to fire 3 or 4 times on some T1 units to be essentially traded efficient, to have already traded efficiently. Czar out on the front here. Do have to be careful about that. Those can fire quite a long distance. Yeah, he's going for it. Oh, the Czar derping around. What are you doing? Oh, no. The micro was right there. He had the right command put down to manual fire that Czar directly into the clump of Mauser, and it just wouldn't listen to him. We have a traitor in the midst right here for the blue team. And losing that Tsar could be the nail in the coffin. There is a Scorpion turret up and running. It's easy to discount the Scorpion turret, but it's being body blocked a little bit here. Well, there we go. Finally going to manage to take care of that heavy tank, but already the medium tanks have ravaged this front line right now. Fruit in a whole lot of trouble. Going to need desperate reinforcements from the back line here. We need emergency spam. We need heavy tanks. We need Tiger tanks being sent out left, right, and center from right. I'm not sure which brother it is, but either way, we need to invest in heavy artillery. Medium tanks in the back line. Yeah, we're having routing issues. We're sending tanks in the wrong direction here. Air player not quite up to T2 yet, means no EMP bombers. We just don't have an efficient solution to these medium tanks. There we go. Tsar finally firing away here. It eventually will kill all this, but not before they do a decent amount of damage, taking down some wind turbines, popping some E-converters, and the blue player has left. Fruit abandoning all hope, ye who follow here. And just like that, their soulless commander will hit the floor as well. The Seafoam Green commander will be taking control. Just a second too late to possibly degun a lot of this down. And immediately we can see the APM overflow leaking into chat right here, as it was written indeed. Heavy tanks now ravaging the base that was once formerly the blue players and now owned by the Seafoam Green commander. Tsar's pretty good, though. We have tumbleweeds rolling forward. That's a bit strange on the front line. I would expect those perhaps in the sea. I would expect those perhaps, rolling up the ramps and whatnot, but there we go. Yeah, I think that's probably what we meant to do, was send these around sort of on this trajectory. Not a bad idea. Actually, a really clever idea. I think these might just be mismicroed here on the front lines. Obviously a danger, because as soon as these pop, if they pop next to friendly units, they can do so much damage. Then again, I guess if they connect with anything unfriendly, they do quite a lot of damage too. Always worth it to try and micro these and self-destruct them if you can. These ones are on fire at will. If you self-destruct them, they do about double damage. Really, really valuable. Anti-air boats being spammed en masse right now to counter torpedo bombers that have pushed back most of the expensive boats on the water. We've gone heavily into spamming anti-air boats right now, but for the time being, those torpedo bombers are still shelling away. T2 air is very, very powerful. Submarines lurking around over here. They're looking for kills, and I think they could find them. There's a lot of exposed metal extractors. This is on the back of a T2 transition right here for the yellow commander. We have no such T2 for the purple, though. And we are spending all of our metal. If we could take a really good fight, kill this navy, and reclaim all of it, then I think what you'd probably have is enough metal and enough momentum to transition into T2. But I just don't see that happening right here. We just saw another metal extractor go down, the torpedo launcher accompanying it as well. Heavy tanks are still in the backline, and we're still not producing any sort of counter. The Tiger tank spam would be ideally what we're looking for here, as these bulls start to ravage this mid lane, and you can feel the soul of the blue team crumbling in on itself here, as nobody else has any will or APM to fight. Right. Lasering down heavy tanks. Not the most particularly efficient unit, or weapon, pardon me, that the commander has at its disposal against those tanks. And there we go, handing the base once more off to another commander here. Tsar on the front line, trying to hold it all together. There's definitely better targets for this Tsar to go after, but it prioritizes the heavy armor as opposed to the much more valuable cluster of lightly armored medium tanks. Definitely a bit of an AI issue right there. Certainly feels like that should be programmed differently, but far be it from me to critique on programming. Definitely not my strong suit. Took a couple classes, wrote a couple calculators, said that's enough for me. And here go the heavy tanks. Heavy tanks and medium tanks. It's a big old ball of tanks. A world of tanks, you might even say. Thank you, thank you. I will be here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Unlike the base of the Green Commander, well, the now base of the Green Commander here. As I believe these medium tanks are about to mop up all those wind turbines. The E-converters are at risk too. Constructors will fall. And one by one, players are dropping like flies, despite a hard-fought battle up here on the northern side that really could have gone either way, but was eventually won by that overwhelming aggression. We did see a win up here on this northern ocean. We had the advantage on the southern one too, but somehow the yellow commander, through a couple very nice trades, managed to claw it back, bring back the advantage, and use it to, well, scale their advantage. Now they're on a full-blown T2 army. They're bacon paladins. Paladins not particularly great in and of themselves, but of course, T1 against T2, always going to be in your advantage to have T2. But at this point, it's no surprise that the economy of the red team is looking fabulous here. You can see we're going for even these tier 2 T.0 metal extractors, T2.0, my goodness, metal extractors out here on the front line that do pull in a whopping 16 metal per second right there. Tremendous, tremendous metal investment for everybody on the red team. This is the real problem, though. In the backline already, a bunch of pawns have made it through to a bunch of way too close clustered together wind turbines, blowing them to smithereens. The build power will be the next priority target. Pop 8 goes, and just like that, the Lavender Commander is knocked out of the air. GG is called, at least by the Purple Commander, and everybody is slowly starting to accept it here on the behalf of the blue team, despite this naval win. I want to believe in this naval victory. We do have Salamander tanks. The Salamander tanks are building up. I think it's now or never, though. Yeah, Gold Leader realizes it, with everybody in the backline giving up hope. It's now or never, definitely. We have to send these Salamanders forward and get so much damage with them. The thing is, there's already a ton of backlog production that's coming out that could still be used to deal with them. I'm talking about heavy tanks, I'm talking about Webbers. Well, the Webbers are gonna have a hard time. They are fairly EMP resistant. Also, look at this beautiful move. Yeah, the Purple Commander has tapped out of the game at this point. Means that these boats can just leisurely cut across this force, devastating all of these dolphins and everything else that was built over here. With purple resistance dwindled, with the Powder Blue Commander left in ruin, with only Modak and Gold Leader trying to hold on, it's a desperate, desperate attempt. Gonna be difficult, though. At this point, you have 8 players worth of APM going up against 2. I've seen some impressive builds, some impressive control, but that would be something else entirely. Fusion reactor pops, man, Salamanders are good, aren't they? Fusion reactor pops, we do still have the Prude producing 750 energy per second, which is really, really nice. Certainly enough to keep powering this lab right here. Build power has fallen as well, but the energy is still high. And I don't think the Salamanders did enough. They certainly put a nice little bit of damage on it, well, both of those bases, the Brown and Maroon Commander's base. But frankly, I just don't see how we're going to be able to claw ourselves back at this point when the advantage is nearly 6-fold. The red team pulling in about 600 metal per second, with the blue team pulling in just about 80. I like that damage with the Salamanders. It just had to be a whole lot quicker. Obviously couldn't have been quicker because there was continued aggression, continued fighting over here. Gunner 626 doing a fabulous job of continually fighting until the very bitter end. But that does indeed mean that the red team is going to claim victory in today's match of Beyond All Reason. What a fun one here on Hell's Base, and I feel like every match on this map tends to be really, really exciting. If you enjoyed, I'd definitely appreciate a like down below. Twofold for that. Of course, it puts bar out there on the map, but also it adds these to a playlist of your own. You can see that as a benefit or not, but I always like to go back and look at some of these casts, especially the Nostradamus casts. Those have been real fun recently. If you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to go comb through the archives. There's some really good treats in there. Anyway, I sure hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.